This video is brought to you in part by TruTech Tools, quality tools, essential support.
What's going on, guys? Today we're doing a startup on some package units. So what we got here is a 480 volt system. It's got the new blue motors on them. It's got the Siemens controller, which is a pain in the butt. And we're just gonna go through some of the things that I normally would do. This is kind of basic for those who've been doing it forever. However, this is how I do it. If you're new to the field and you want to learn how to do things a little bit better, you know, these are some of the things I do. They might help improve you. It's entirely up to you. Do what you want. If you're already here watching, then that's the first step to trying to make yourself better, because you're trying to learn from wherever you can find it at. If you're like me, the schooling that I took was not adequate, and generally there's none that is, because you're gonna have to learn things on your own. So here's some basic stuff that I do. So kind of getting started, I already went through a few of these things. We still got a few more things to do yet. So the first thing I did, I went and killed the voltage to the unit, and I checked my connections. This one right here was loose. These here, I got a little bit of a quarter of a turn. This one here, I got like 2 turns out of. You would think the factory comes through with their blue marker and they would have checked it. Don't trust them. This crap's made in Mexico. Not saying Mexico's a bad place, but there's obviously a reason why they're doing it cheaper. I'm not saying Americans do everything right, because they don't. A lot of them have a bad attitude. That is the way it is. No holds bar. If you don't like it, shut the video off. I don't really care. This is the fact. This is what I see. We had a million problems. In the last 3 videos, you watched me work on those 3 chillers over there, all made in Mexico now. High dollar unit. And like I said, we've had none but problems with those things. Stuff that was easily preventable. Am I hammering away at Carrier? Yeah. And the thing is, it's not just Carrier, it's Train, it's Daikin, it's all the other manufacturers. They're all cutting corners, and the reason why is because we have a work issue. People just don't care about their work, whether they do a good job or not. So that's not to be condemning, but it's just to point out the facts of what I keep running into. So for starters, look what we did here. They ran this safety control, which is a thermostat, right in front of the filter here. What kind of common sense was that? Here's the other wire. So every time somebody has to pull the filter out, it's gonna run right into the wire. Sure, you can pull it out, but you know what? Maintenance guys are gonna come up here, they're not gonna pay attention to that. They could have easily drilled a hole through here, came down and around and over. Same thing with this. If you pull on it, it goes right to here. They could have easily drilled a hole, went right through there. What's it matter? Because I mean, they got a big old gap here anyway. What's it matter if whether they have a little hole? A little grommet in it, move it on. I'm gonna have to fix that because the factory didn't do their job. So anyhow, we've got the Siemens controller here, which I have to pull up the control panel manual because it's a pain in the butt. Went through and checked all of my screws here, make sure they're all tight. Only 2 of the fuses are used, but tightened all of those. Went through and tightened up our connections here. Some of those I could get a turn or 2 out of. Make sure that all of our wires are tight. If they look crookedy and stuff, chop them off, get a nice clean strip, get it underneath there. Next thing I started going through here is looking at my capillary tubes, making sure that nothing is rubbing up against pipes. A lot of these were right up against pipes. That's gonna rub through, cause a leak. Then you lose your refrigerant. Next thing I do, I grab my bulbs, see if they turn. If they turn, they're not tight. Next thing to check is did they put the bulbs so that the bulb is pointing up? No, lazy, didn't do it. This bulb should be up on the top. That way the refrigerant has to expand and come out. That's common practice. Will it make a huge difference? Maybe not, but it definitely is letting the liquid come straight down. That's just cutting corners, not doing the job right. Once again, why are they cheaper in Mexico? So we've got here, on quite a few in the past, I did a video on it. It was a brand new unit. These wires here were right up against the sharp edge of the metal. These ones here are fairly okay. Everything in here was fairly decent. One of the other things I do is I go through and I check all my caps, make sure they're tight, make sure the caps are even on it. Half the time they might be missing caps. So the refrigerant caps, got those on. On these lines here, you can only do so much on these. They got them so tight in there, you can't really separate them much, but if you can separate them a little bit, it might be better, or either clamp them completely together. Coming over here, the compressors. They had these sharp edges from the heater. I've seen these short out a million times. They had this sharp belly band thing laying right across the wire. The wire was laying across it. Had all these zip ties here. They were all loose, none of them were tightened. What scares me about these welds look pretty good at first, but when you stare at them, I think they just painted it on and didn't pull anything in there. I have a bad feeling that the brazing alloy wasn't pulled into the pocket at all. Went through here. This pipe right here was up against that. Went ahead and bent it in a little bit so it's not going to vibrate right up against it. Be careful. These cheap press out pieces of metal, they will cut you. I sliced my hand a couple times on the recent ones. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to tighten up all the set screws on the fans, make sure they're tight. And then I'm going to look at those wires up there too, because those wires have a tendency to fall down. They'll get caught in the fan, chop them off. That happened in one of my other videos from a year ago. That was a disaster. And then once again, checking these wires, making sure these wires aren't laying across the pipes so that they can rub through. This here was actually tucked underneath this piece of metal here. You can see where the water was trailing, so it actually is showing that it was following it. I don't like them even laying on top of that right there because it can vibrate into the edge of that head of the bolt. So clamp them together, pull them away from it. You know, if you got to put a wire tie around this bundle here and then maybe do a wire tie to hold them away from it, the better you're going to be. Going through and double checking the fins, making sure the fins aren't all smashed to hell, which these don't have hail guard on it. They'll probably regret that. I don't know why they did this, but they used the old trap and it should have probably been upgraded to something a little bit bigger. These are 25 tons. Now this is on a paint booth for a toolbox company. They don't need heat, so they're cooling everything in the paint booth. So gas is here. This gas is never going to run. Not going to be used. We got to adjust the fans and the economizer. We're going to bring in about 15% air, so we keep everything in a positive. You don't want to suck dust into a paint booth. Like I said, I've got my iPad. I shot the manual to it. You can pull up some of the stuff here off of the QR code there. All right, so that's where we're at. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but you know, it's the simple things like this that end up preventing a lot of money down the road being lost for stupid things that could have been caught. That's what today's video is about. Might sound like a bitch fest. Once again, don't like it, don't watch it. I don't really care. That's just where we're at. That was really difficult, wasn't it? All right, so we got that fixed. Not a huge deal, is it? Maybe not, maybe it is. We just had another new unit, had the bulb snap right off because it wasn't installed right. This is probably what happened. Okay, no sharp edges. Yeah, we could put a thing in there, but honestly, it would have been damaged quicker by doing what they were freaking doing originally than anything else. Shouldn't even have to do this. There we go. Wasn't that hard? My God, it was hard. So we got that one fixed. We got this wire ran down through, up and over here. It's not in the way of the ignition, which it won't matter anyway because we're not going to use it. Everything grounded and back together again. Double checking all your wires. The power is off like I showed earlier. Transformer tap, that's something you want to check when you're on 208, 230 volt. If it's 208, 213, usually 208. I like 25, 26 volts, 27 volts. I don't like 23, 22, because when you put a load on it, it tends to dip down, possibly could cut things out. I like going around and just pulling on wires, tugging on them, making sure, do they pull off? Anything like that. Don't trust that paint marker. So I have that ground wire, I forgot to check that. Let's do that real quick. That's pretty tight. Maybe I did check it, I don't remember. Okay, and then we already checked the rotation and I also did voltage check. So the voltage is swinging up and down because they have such load down there. 492, 93, and 94. That's all under that 2%, so we're good. HVAC school app. Got an app for calculating that. You don't even have to figure it out. Just enter the numbers. It'll go down to decimal points if you want. It wasn't worth writing down decimal points because, like I said, it was going 493.5, 492. You know, we averaged it. Got our panels back on, just one screw in each of them. Got to get this power back on. There we go, welcome. Welcome to the big show. Okay, I don't have my wire ties up here. And honestly, tape sometimes works better than does wire ties, because tape don't usually break after it gets a little bit old. So that'll hold that there. Keeps that all away from that bundle. That one there is kind of a difficult one. There's only so much you can do with that. At least nothing's laying on the actual pipes. So it should be good. And now we're gonna start on this Siemens controller, which is, you can buy a USB stick thing for it, make it a lot easier. This is an abomination. You gotta take this loose to loosen it up. Otherwise, what's gonna end up happening, they don't tuck this in there like I just did. This is gonna yank out if you try to just lift it up, because theoretically it's supposed to lift up like that and pull out. But it was pinned in here pretty tight because this here was clamped in after it was already put in place. So maybe loosen that up a little bit, but eventually, once I loosened this one up, got the middle one out, then I was able to do it. Off to the side here, you can see that we've got the Siemens sensor right there. That sensor is going to monitor humidity and temperature both, so we're going through enthalpy. And right now we're completely closed. This is your bypass damper, so if you overpressurize the building, it's going to actually blow this open. Most of the time this is going to be closed, but right now you can tell it's building's in a negative. Here's the configure spot. You've got all your manual, it's maybe in the paper, half the time ours gets lost and we never find it again. Input output configurations. And so you look at this number here, 6, or it might say 7, or it could say 8, and all that other stuff. You find that in your chart here, and then you look at it, and you configure it for what you have. Your unit may have a return air sensor, it may have just a mix sensor and a outdoor sensor, it may be a temperature only, it might be humidity and temperature both. So not worth really showing you. You gotta go through it. Honestly, it's easy enough to do it this way if you do a bunch of them. If you don't, the Wi-Fi thing would make it a lot easier, which I really wish I would have bought by now, but unfortunately I haven't. But go through there and set that thing up. So we're over here at the other one now. Same thing as before. Discharge line right there up against the metal. So we gotta bump that over. Yeah, that one's kind of loose. Oil levels look good. Wires are all up in there. Everything's still loose like you see over there and there. Give this a little bump. There we go, just enough to keep it away from it. Wires look like they're all hooked up. You know, they're just right up against that. That way it can short out. So these short out all the time like this. So we've already adjusted the damper on this one. And so we're gonna shut this one down. That way it doesn't blow anything while we're trying to work on it. One of the things I noticed, like low voltage here, or whatever you wanna call it, it's just like, I don't know, it don't look good. At least you can say they're consistent, not in a good way. Wires are in the way, bulbs are upside down, crap's just half hanging on. Good job, boys. Really impressed. Okay, got them drilled. Brush out some of these shavings here. Run your finger along it, see if it cuts your finger. If it don't, then it's safe enough for the wire. If you got some Romex connectors, it's definitely better than the way they had it, because I guarantee it was gonna get screwed up. Getting pulled out with the filters every couple months, if even that often. All right, I had to go grab my 5-foot ladder there to kind of get me up here to take some of these screws out. We just got that wire switched over and through there. Look at that. See that? Screws in the middle. I took out 2 here to lift this up, and those just popped up. So now we'll go and get these here done. Also, I said something on one of my other videos, but I ended up not putting it in it because I wanted to see what snap mount would do. If any other guys out there that watch me actually make YouTube videos and stuff and are thinking about getting snap mount. Snap mount, I bought it 3 months ago. They only carry a like 30-day warranty. So don't waste your money on that junk. They broke. You know, it's nice because you can like unhook and it just hooks right back to your shirt like that. but this here's a Chinese version, and it's not as good far as stability, but it hasn't broke, and snap mount did nothing for me. So just something to hang out there for you guys to hear. Just a public service announcement. So I left them a real wonderful review on Amazon. Total waste of money. I love these heads. It looks so nice. How about we just kind of get a nice little loopy-doop here. There you go, little loopy-doop. Another little loopy-doop. There you go. Instead of just twanging it all over the Mexican border here. It's just like they just string this crap. No care, no thought, no nothing. Just throw it in there. Good enough. There we go. They got a little indentation there for it to go in. That way it makes it a little more brain dead. They still put it in upside down, whatever. That was so difficult. And, you know, anybody that was doing an inspection would have seen that the stem came out of the bottom, not the top. Those are tight. Now, when I get on the really big lugs and stuff, I'll get my torque wrench out, and most of these blocks have torque settings on them that will tell you what they are supposed to be at, and you can do that with a socket style Allen wrench. Yes, power's off. That block ain't very secure, is it? Those are all pretty tight. These are really important here. And that one wasn't all that impressive. That's all your connections right there. What I like about these, they fold up. Gives you a little bit of leverage. You don't want to get stupid and snap them, but you can. That's why you do it by hand and not by the gun. Make sure power's coming into the top, not the bottom. That was the last mistake. I was at a new chicken place that was coming in. Linux unit they requested. Electricians wired it wrong. It's like, dude, that's not gonna pass if you're gonna get inspected. Oh, that's nice. See, somebody just completely forgot about that one. I ain't dicking with the 480 volt side of things. That's existing, obviously. It's a dirty box. These are the connectors I like for those pass-through kind of type deals for when the wires go through. We don't stock them, unfortunately. And why can't you use our Omex connector? Tighten these up, tighten up some of these. Well, they made that really convenient, didn't they? What was that thought process? These are already kind of tight, and those are just floppying around. That's almost impressive. Yeah, we'll just bring these over with some tape. Honestly, this probably isn't going to vibrate much if it's down here on the oil. Most likely won't get that hot. All right. Good enough to get it running. See if we can get onto this. See if it's tight or not. Not too impressive. Can't reach the other ones very easily. You gotta remember, if one of those blades come off, it's going to go flying right through that coil. And then there goes the refrigerant, there goes the coil, and there goes their cooling down for their paint booth. At least this one has Copeland scroll compressors, the original, so that France crap. Wind is blowing down. Look at that, get right by it. And up here, also going that direction. You have your negative side of the blower, your positive side of the blower. So anything backing up on it, this is truly across the blower itself. You're not measuring the coil, you're not measuring the filters, you're literally doing just the blower. And on low, we're at 0.95. Usually 0.5 is the highest you want, and we're on low now. So when we're on high, we were well over around 2. So it's like, yeah, it's not really good. This one probably is running high because it ran the most of all of them. This one's not horrible. Yeah, right. It just went up. It's fluctuating. We must be surging. Yeah, we're like 0.8, 9 to 1. Y1 in and out, on. Y2 in, off. So we're on low again. So if we crank it to W2 or Y2, then she gonna go high. She going high. And they were wanting us to slow these down because they're 5 tons bigger than what they were, but that's because we're bringing in outside air. Yeah, loving it. It's a little bit higher, 0.9 to 1 on low. Let's kick this Talamazoo up to 1.2. There we go. Give it the old Y to Y2. Eat, baby, eat. We're already at 48 degrees. Our discharge temperature. Yeah, that's 2.5, 2.3. This is the way I've seen a lot of the so-called professional balancers do it. They're literally drilling their doors. You might be able to go down here, but that one over there was a little more difficult to tell which one was which, I think. I don't know. These things are way up in the air because of the curb adapter, but I can see that's not really where it should be at. We're mainly in the negative side here, so on the incoming side of the unit, we're at negative 1.4 inches. We're at positive 0.74 on the outgoing. If we could find out what's going on, which I would suspect is probably plugged filters down below, because they have pre-filters for the paint booth, and I bet you they're plugged full of crud. Even though we're bringing in, a moderate, inch, 2.5 inches, 2 inches of damper being open there. It's kind of hard to tell. I had to give it a 6-volt signal, which is not 15% according to the voltage chart, but there really ain't nothing else that much open that really gives you a real indication that it's truly like 60. So 1.4 maximum external static pressure. 1.4, obviously we don't want that, but you're gonna have that also though when you're moving some massive air. But while we're waiting for the guy that sold it to get back with us, let's check our compressor. Pulling 3.3 on that, or I'm pulling 13.3 area on that one, 13.4. I was thinking about drilling a hole down here in bottom, see if it makes a difference. As I stand corrected, look at that. Whether you're going one in and one out or whatever, you got 1.1. Flip the sucker the other direction if it's coming up that way. Still 1.1, doesn't make a bit of difference. Switch this one around if you want. There you go, 180, 1.1, it don't matter. That's the whole point of the port. So on this one here, we have a 0.65 on the positive and a 0.48 on the negative. Yeah, I gotta find out which way is acceptable or not, honestly. All we were checking is the fan's static pressure used for efficiency drops. So yeah, made a mistake. I'm an idiot. So anyhow, best way an idiot can redeem himself is to, check and see before he leaves the job. So now we're doing a lot better. 1.1 at the highest. So yeah. Let's see if we can do the same thing over here on this other one. What's kind of crazy is that's not insulated. I don't know how they got away with that. Okay, this one has duct board inside of it, which we're pushing through it, hooking and going. So my guess would be that is the supply. Okay, so like I said, I'm an idiot. I'll leave this in there just so you guys know that I don't lie to you. Because, if that's the worst I did, I guess, whatever. So like I mentioned earlier, I took a picture of that chart, pressure chart. So if we go to 1.0 and we check the DC voltage we've got here, which we come down to here, and this is going to tell us supposedly our CFM. Okay, we are at 7.5 volts. 7.5 volts, you're about 8,700 CFM at 1.0. We're at a 1.1, so the voltage goes up to keep that same thing with a higher static. 15 ton or 25 ton. So 25 times, let's go 350 because we're trying to go low. 8,750. 8,750. We're about dead balls on the money right there, bro. 7.5. I'm gonna say we're gonna hold it right in there, and that's probably why we're getting away with 47 degrees leaving air temperature. So yeah, it's just one of them things, I guess. You could technically move it just a touch more. There's 7.6, 7.7. So at 7.7, technically, obviously you increase the speed, you're going to increase your static pressure. So yeah, we're just going to have to double check that now. We increased that speed and we're still at 1.05. So 1.05, 1 inch static, 1.1, 1.08, we're fluctuating. So we may not have had to adjust that speed at all. 2 would be 7.8. So if you split the difference, it'd be about 7.6. We could go 7.6. And that would put us right in at that bare bone 350 CFM, which is going to dehumidify really good. 7.6, so let's take it back down just a touch. 7.64. 7.63. I'm gonna leave it there, it's close enough. Go 1.1 inch, 7.6 volts DC, 8750 CFM. There we go. We're splitting hairs here, but yeah, that's where we're at. At least I checked it. Most people wouldn't check it, I'll be honest with you. Set it and hope for the best. All right, before you guys catch me on this, you probably already did. I didn't realize, see, I'm almost 6 foot and I can't see up there. So yeah, that's probably throwing off my return static a little bit, but we're gonna leave it go. Everything's looking fine. So checked out some of the obvious stuff that we always do. Check amp draws, did our voltage unbalance, stuff like that. Those are some of the things I did too. I didn't show everything, but those are just some of the more common ones, or more the thing that's a little bit different. So anyhow, there's other things that I did as far as, checking the charge, making sure that stuff's right. I mean, you can check that or not check it. I mean, theoretically it should be right, but then so should everything else that's been checked on here and found it wasn't necessarily tight or in the right particular position. So, all right, this is a simple one. Like I said, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.